This is the book of First Peter chapter 2, verse 9, and it reads, But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who had called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Verse 10, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of Yahweh, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Verse 11, dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah Kodash, Brakatham. Double honors shall go to apostles, elders, and bishops, a great millstone to continue to teach and to rule well. Shalom to the Akims of great millstone and like-minded camps and individuals who continue to teach as one body, who continue to be out on the highways and byways, risking their lives for the greater good. And also shalom to the sincere Akwats, who are continuously learning in silence, as the Holy Scriptures have commanded for you to do so. This is Azariah Gabar, representing the King is Coming channel, back at it with another lesson for edification purposes. All right. So this beautiful and delightful lesson is going to be titled Being a Pilgrim. All right. Being a pilgrim. Because as we're approaching upon these last days, and we're not even approaching, we're already in these last days. All right. In actuality, we as Israelites are going to have big decisions to make very soon. All right? Because when that RFID microchip becomes mandate in Babylon the Great very soon, you guys, and I'm talking about the 2/3, all right? You guys are going to have to decide whether you're going to take that microchip, but now you're going to lose your soul in the process, or you're going to be like us 1/3 and the hopeful elect that's going to withstand and resist that Mot B or mark of the beast. But as a result of that resistance, we're going to have to be pilgrims. And being a pilgrim is being like nomads, going from place to place to place. You don't have a steady roof over your head anymore. The comforts, things of the like, that's going to be out the window soon. All right? But the good news is that's only going to be for a short time period. All right? So I'm going to read 1 Peter 2:11 again. Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul. So being a pilgrim is spiritual and physical. All right. So I just described the physical aspect of being a pilgrim, moving around from place to place, because you're no longer going to have access to your own home. All right. You're not going to be able to pay rent or the mortgage. And you're going to be kicked out of your dwellings. So that's the physical aspect. But the spiritual aspect was what I just read in book of 1 Peter 2:11. So being a spiritual pilgrim would require for you to abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul. Woo! All right. So Hebrews 11:11, and it reads, through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Verse 12, therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the sea shore innumerable. And here's the point. Verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. All right, so Hebrews describe the physical pilgrims on the earth. Okay? So I just mentioned about the two aspects of pilgrimage. All right? So when we go to the book of Hebrews 11 and 13 in the New International Version, it reads, and by faith, even Sarah, who was past childbearing age, was enabled to bear children because she considered him faithful whom had made the promise. Verse 12. And so from this one man, and he as good as dead, came descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as countless as the sand on the seashore. Verse 13. And all these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. Woo! My. The scriptures are good today. I'm jacking up that Johnny Gill song, but listen, real talk though. We're about to soon find out who's going to be pilgrims and who's going to take that might be because they got to feed their babies, this, that, the other, but they're going to be destroyed according to the book of Revelation 14:9 and 10. You're going to be destroyed by those ICBM missiles and those chariots fires. All right? That's going to be admitted when Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai makes his triumphant return to plead or to judge the flesh. Okay? All right? So I want to just take this time to tell you something about what I went through recently. Okay? And it was like two incidents within a 3-day time span, okay, where I experienced briefly actually being a pilgrim. All right. Now, the first incident occurred when I was sleeping in my bed and I was hearing knocks from my building's maintenance in the fire department. So, being a former fire and life safety director or FLSD, I already knew that, all right, let me get up and start getting dressed because this was an evacuation situation. And as it turned out, it was. There was an alarm activation that indicated a carbon monoxide activation. And I was told I had to pack up my, little bit of belongings and be prepared to evacuate and to be in a hotel for an unspecified period of time until this carbon monoxide is cleared. All right. So what could I do? I couldn't complain. I used to do this work, so I know what it's like. So I made that valiant effort to gather up personal belongings in a tote bag, and I evacuated my apartment. I left the window open before I did that. So that's advice to anybody that may be in that similar situation. You have to evacuate your apartment due to a carbon monoxide situation. Leave your window open. Leave your windows open to help that gas, because it's odorless. All right. It's odorless and it's tasteless. And it'll catch you out there. All right. If the Lord allow it. So that's what I did. But the good news was that after further assessments, I no longer had to evacuate. All right. So praise Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for that. And then a couple of days later, I'm in my apartment watching TV, and I had a noisy neighbor playing loud music, being inconsiderate. And I'm like, yo, I got to go knock on this, find out where this loud noise and music is coming from, and knock on this person's door and ask them to please lower their sounds. And because I was just in a rush, I forgot my house keys. But luckily, I was aware enough to take my cell phone. But nevertheless, I locked myself out of my apartment. So to make the long story short, the 24-hour maintenance didn't respond to, my requests after I called them multitude of times to have me, be brought back into my apartment. And I was waiting for 2 hours, but the spirit told me to go to the hospital because I was feeling stress. I was feeling throbbings in my head. And that's what I ended up doing. And I ended up spending maybe 13 hours at a local hospital. When I got checked up, I said, I might as well get myself checked. And sure enough, it was, stress, high blood pressure, because I was stressed out. But then I had to remind myself that this was a test from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to see how I would respond when the real deal comes, as far as having to evacuate my place and become an actual pilgrim. Y'all heard? So the following morning, I was able to come back. I ran into the management, and they finally allowed me back into my apartment. All right. But this was a little drill, let's put it that way, from Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to test me. And I passed the test. You heard? So hopefully this will conclude this beautiful lesson for today. All praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Barak Kodash Barakadam Kwam Yasharala, Rise Israel. And as always, hopefully someone gets edification from this beautiful lesson. And Lord willing, on to the next video. Shalom.